Welcome to Nitro Nights Stories with me, Tom Deacon, live from my living room. What is it now? Lockdown 3.0? I'm not entirely sure, but this is how I am starting 2021 with you good people. So thank you very much for joining us on Twitch. As part of overtake.gg, you can follow all of the latest action by going onto the website overtake.gg for all of the latest on Nitro Nights. There's some brilliant articles that if you're into your sim racing, that you should definitely take a look at, and then follow us on all of the socials. So you've joined us for Nitro Nights Stories. What is this all about? Well, I'll tell you. I get on a brilliant guest who is not only interesting, fascinating, they're just an all-round good egg that I get to chat to and find out about their story. And tonight is no different. Following in the footsteps of TRL Limitless, I welcome the man who is taking over the world with his YouTube content. It is the one and only Aarav.
Hello, that was a very overdramatic intro, Tom.
No, you want me to calm down a little bit? Look, I've put aftershave on. This is I'm letting you know the secrets. Aftershave's gone on. I've brushed my teeth and I've put on my most colourful outfit for this evening.
I mean, it's a looker. It's a looker for sure.
Listen, my man, I wanted to big you up because it just feels like not only do I and everyone else love your content that you're putting out on YouTube, you're influential in the game. And this is why I was giving you that introduction. First of all, how have you been? How has 2021 been treating you so far?
It's been interesting. It's been interesting. Obviously, here in the UK, we're in lockdown 3, so it could have been a lot better, I guess. But making the most of it, and I guess in these kind of sort of weird times, just focusing on making, like you said, that content that people like to enjoy. You kind of get an understanding very quickly how much of an escape it is for other people, how much of a comfort it is to watch like a video every day. So that's definitely something that keeps me going, basically. And after such a whirlwind 2020, just sort of, getting through the first part of this year, hoping for a little bit more freedom, I guess, in the world later on in the year. But obviously, like you said, also exciting times with everything to do with myself, like YouTube, esports. It's an industry that's still booming, even in lockdown. So it's all rather exciting. But just getting on with it at the moment, I would say.
Getting on with it. I think that's how we have to treat it. We're getting on with it. That's what we're doing, making the best of the situation. People know your setup right now. This is where it happens. This is where the magic happens, where you are. For your YouTube content, I want to talk about that. I also want to take questions from everybody. Earlier on, Overtake tweeted about that you were going to come in on the Nitro Nights Story. So I've got some questions I want to delve into there. I want to talk about being a team principal, Alfa Romeo. I want to talk about your driver series, your career modes. I also want to delve into Vellante if we can. And of course, Quadrant. This is all exciting stuff. Let's take it way back though. Is there anything off the sort of list I can't ask about?
I mean, no, sounds all good, Tom. All good. Nothing's off the table, I don't think.
Okay, all right, fair enough. It's like a trade deal right there that's happened. Listen, let's start then. Let's start. That trade deal's been done. There's nothing we can do about it, guys. Well,
hopefully it's better than the trade deal the UK have made as of late, mate.
Indeed. All right. Okay. Where do I want to start? First of all, I think the main question that's come from Justin Talks F1 says, when is the Quadrant tattoo happening?
See, this is the first time I've ever heard of a Quadrant tattoo from Justin there. I have always thought about a tattoo at some point in my life, maybe not a Quadrant one, but I don't know, maybe it needs to be something that we do in a video. Recently we did a video on Quadrant where we did a little prank on Niran and Steve. Me and Maria teamed up to prank them. And the forfeit was a tweet. Maybe one of these days down the line when things get a little bit crazier, maybe with Lando involved, we do a kind of, forfeit where one of us has to get a Quadrant tattoo. I don't know. I think that might be a good idea, maybe in a video.
Yeah, it's definitely something you can look into. I wanted to start nice and gentle with that first question. 5 people are in Quadrant. Explain what Quadrant is to people, because I was thinking 4, but break it down for me, Aarav.
Yeah, right. So Quadrant is Lando Norris, the F1 driver, obviously the McLaren F1 driver's esports team. It's called Quadrant. I get this question a lot, even from my own friends, because they didn't quite get it at first. But it's called Quadrant because obviously Lando's number is number 4. That's his branding, that's his identity, and so that's why the team is called Quadrant. But it's also for the 4 different like pillars that he wants the team to be. So you've got like gaming, lifestyle, apparel as well, because he wants to do merchandise with Quadrant as well. And then obviously just his actual racing career as well. So that's the kind of 4 pillars of Quadrant. But yeah, it's got 5 members. Lando, obviously, myself, my flatmate actually, Niren FNG, Ria Bish on Facebook Gaming, and then also Steve Super GT on YouTube. So yeah, it makes up a pretty sweet team, I think. But that's why it's called Quadrant. It's all based off Lando's personal brand.
Well, I was so excited when I saw the news about it. A lot of people were saying, this is a great selection of talent. Niren won. I hope also after seeing your latest video that he's recovered from the alcohol he's consumed and he's fit for business again. It's so exciting to see so many F1 drivers involved in the world that you are so passionate. And I know, and I'm telling everybody, we are going to go back to day dot for you getting into esports. But what's it like when you got that call and are asked to be part of the team? Nerve-wracking, I imagine. And why do you think you were brought into these 4 pillars that you mentioned?
Yeah, it was a really weird phone call actually, because it was a bit out of the blue from one of the manager guys at Vellante, and it was really exciting to hear that they wanted me to be part of it. I'd already heard that Lando was forming a team in the background, but it wasn't yet public at that point. It was kind of a few months before we launched the team, and then being roped into it was very, very exciting. And the opportunity to work with an F1 driver, well, I think all of us, especially the F1 gaming space at least, we never ever imagined an F1 driver even racing with us, as we all did with not the GPs and virtual Grand Prix earlier in the year, let alone being under his wing essentially and being kind of part of his team and kind of working with him every single week basically to make content in a sense. So that was exciting, a little bit nerve-wracking as well. I think it was more nerve-wracking, I guess, towards the launch, maybe not so when I knew I was going to be part of the team, because at that point it's just kind of getting everything ready and kind of getting ready to launch the team. But then I can't lie, the kind of run up the first few days before we actually made the team public and launched it, especially on the day, was heart pounding, because we were doing this launch live stream for it, and you just don't know quite the reaction you're going to get. And Lando has so many fans, like, over 2.5 million, I think it is, on Instagram, like, nearly 800K or something like that on Twitter. So it's quite nerve-wracking to get exposed to that many people, even though obviously I'm used to it in a sense of, having over 400K on YouTube. But it's a different kind of pressure, because it's completely new racing fans that are so dedicated to him as a personality, him as a driver. So you just weren't really sure. Hopefully they like you, hopefully they take to you. But thankfully, Lando's fans are just crazy in like the best possible way. They're amazing, and the love they've shown to all 4 of us has just been nuts, just absolutely nuts.
Yeah, I imagine it's absolutely nuts for those Lando fans. The Red Bull Ring earlier on in the F1 2020 calendar, when he got his first podium, the expletives were happening, people were pumped.
Yeah.
I'm sure they went off, but I'm sure they've embraced you. Has it made you look at the content you create with maybe a new perspective, or I need to do more for them? Or has it changed you in any way?
I think it's changed all of us in terms of when we look at the content we make for Quadrant. I think we always look at, what we can do a little bit differently. What can we do to engage with Lando's fans specifically? Because, of course, we know that they're going to be interested in what he's doing gaming-wise. So it's always good to try and think of ideas that we can get him involved in, and, new ways that they can kind of get closer to him, I guess, as personality. But also for us, for all 4 of us, I think Quadrant's a nice outlet to make different kind of content. It's kind of more real, in-person based. We've all got our webcams on the entire time during videos, whereas I'm very used to, and Steve Super GT is very used to, having no webcam, kind of faceless videos, very focused on gameplay. So for us, it's a different kind of way to make content, and nice outlet, I guess, to make different kinds of content in that kind of sense.
Yeah, you mentioned making content. That's what I want to talk to you about, Aarav. Making sweet content is what I'm gonna lay down for you. You have done that, and what I love is it's authentic, it's personal, it's your journey, especially in the career modes. So how did you start? Why did you start? And first of all, you are obviously an F1 fan. So was it that why you wanted to sort of take the game and then say, "Look, I'm going to create something"?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was always an F1 fan before I got into the gaming side of things, but I think the game actually got me more into the sport. The first game I played of F1 was F1 2010, so I got in quite late compared to a lot of the community, maybe, who had played, the older ones on the PlayStation made by Sony, like F1 2006 Championship Edition, maybe. I got in very late in that kind of regard, but that game solidified my love for F1 even more so, to the point where, now I wouldn't imagine my life without liking F1. But yeah, I think it was mostly, I was always interested in YouTube and doing YouTube, but I didn't really know what to do. And then F1, back in the day, I thought, I'm not too bad at this. I'm having some really nice races with the AI. I think I'm pretty okay. At the time, obviously, I had no idea about any of these other quicker guys who now go on to be esports drivers. But at the time, I thought, I'm pretty good at this. I can maybe make some videos and kind of just, I don't know, showcase what fun I'm having, because I was having so much fun with F1 2010 and 11. And then by the time I got to 2012, that's when I started my YouTube channel and just started uploading career mode videos. And it seemed like a few people enjoyed it. I got involved in the community more with some league racing and just generally on F1 Twitter as well, to kind of know people back in the day. F1 Twitter was tiny compared to now, where you have so many people that I don't even know probably in this community. But back then it was so small and so focused that, it was just these silly little videos I was making for fun. And they just kept on going, basically, because I just enjoyed it so much. And as I went on through the years, I kind of developed a kind of style, I guess you could say, to making my career mode specifically. I've always really enjoyed the story aspect of a career mode like that, because I really enjoy just stories in general. I love films, I love, just watching stuff. I'm a big YouTube fan in general as well. So I think I take a lot of inspiration from trying to weave a narrative and a story into my series. And that's always kind of been a side of the sport I also enjoy. Like, I enjoy knowing the little ins and outs of, driver rivalries or, tensions in the paddock. For example, Christian Horner and Cyril Abiteboul, from Red Bull v Renault, that kind of tension that we saw in Drive to Survive. I love that kind of thing away from the actual racing as well. And that's what I try and, bleed into the career mode, essentially, and try and do my best to just bring a different aspect to it compared to other people, maybe.
Yeah, we do such a good job of that. Drive to Survive is it's just, even if you've watched it, you're still like, oh, what happens? You already know what happens, Tom. You watched the season,
Exactly,
but you're like,
we've known it for
no.
like a year.
It's like you already know the spoilers. It's like watching Titanic. You know the iceberg's coming, but you're still like, there's a chance they might not. But so with those career modes, like people who love sim racing, especially F1, it's kind of like your closest way of putting you in that world. Like, what does it feel like to go through this season and to make those turning point decisions, which you do? And in terms of like, who's going to sponsor, how much money have we got? Is that where you get the most buzz from it?
Yeah, I think creating the storyline in my head and then actually implementing into the game is like the best part. I think I get a massive buzz of planning out a season of like, oh, what's gonna I don't plan out what's gonna actually happen in terms of the championship, but in terms of, yeah, like you said, the sponsors or what I'm doing with, the mods I use on PC on F1, for example. So like the helmet design or the livery design, who I'm going to sign as my teammate in the game. It's all something that can be made into a story, and I get a massive buzz off making up a new story in my head and knowing that, the people who really enjoy that series will really get a kick out of it and really be, either surprised or like the decision I've made. And like you said, yeah, I think it's a nice way of trying to almost ground yourself and immerse yourself in the world. And that's a big word, I think, for the F1 game in general with career mode. Over the years, even Codemasters have, banged on about trying to get that immersion, and that immersion kind of carries on to, people making videos on the game. I think people like to be immersed in that world and kind of almost, for those 20 minutes or 30 minutes that you're watching the video, pretend, that it's sort of semi-real. I commentate it as if, we're actually racing. I never really break character that much in terms of the fourth wall with the game, just to, kind of keep that immersion the entire way through the video.
Yeah, I emulate. I really empathize with what you're saying. Big football fan, playing Football Manager, and then taking myself out of the lounge or wherever I was playing, and then have a post-match interview with nobody, but I'm living that moment. I just,
Yeah.
that's why I love watching your stuff, and I also
Well,
like.
do do you get a suit? Do you get a suit on for the important cup games? Maybe, you know, proper like, because I've seen some streamers do that for Football Manager. They get proper into it, like suit and tie,
Yeah.
boxers obviously, but a full suit and tie on the torso and get really into it.
Yeah, I even went full immersion into it, where I pretend I'm the manager who doesn't know how to put on the clip mic, and yet as a
Yeah.
full-time presenter, I know exactly how to do it. But I'm there going, "Can anyone help with this?"
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
real attention to detail. Um, but even with the videos you make, where you're highlighting all of the features that are coming up in the next F1
Yeah.
iteration are so good, and the humor that you add to it. How do you think, when you look at your, from the, say, the first video you made to where you are now, how do you think as when you're presenting, how do you think you've evolved?
I definitely got just a lot more confident, I think, in myself and what I'm saying, and also just the way I carry my voice compared to the first few videos I ever did. I sounded so quiet and timid. I think everyone does when they first start doing any sort of YouTube videos, or they start an early presenting career. They don't quite have the confidence to project their voice, maybe, or aren't as confident as talking on the fly as I am maybe now. But I think also, yeah, like you mentioned, the humor as well. I think I've gotten better at kind of finding my sense of humor and kind of having that in the actual videos themselves. It's kind of difficult sometimes with F1 and gaming videos in general, especially when you're faceless and doing them. It's kind of hard sometimes to bring your personality across, but I think slowly I've kind of been able to get my personality across, even when I'm trying to seriously commentate, you know, career mode videos. Even when I was commentating the Not the GP series with Vellante earlier in the year with Andy, I think Andy has a certain style. I had a certain style of, you know, humor and commentary, you know, the phrases we use. And I think as you go on through the months and years of doing content creation, you get more and more confident in yourself about that. You know, that's your style, that's your brand. It's same way with you. Kind of, you have a style of presenting, a kind of, you know, little humor and confidence about you when you do different presenting roles. It's kind of no different, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it's your unique selling point. And also, you are a bit of a fortune teller from watching some of the videos, where you're looking forward to next year and you're predicting things that we maybe hadn't thought about. I want to ask you about that, but a great question from Nilsson JE says, "Do you think Pascal Vellante is the best driver who didn't get the chance he deserved?"
I think so. I think, I still looking back at it, he was a massively quick driver. It's just unfortunate in terms of F1's a very cruel sport. It's a very fickle sport. If the timing doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. And I think the same case has been, you know, with other past drivers like Van Dorn. Maybe he didn't get the right timing of, you know, when he stepped into such a poor McLaren, for example. And yeah, Verline is unfortunate because I rated him at the time, so much so that, you know, in my career mode series at the time, I kept him on in the career mode because I thought honestly he was such a good driver. So yeah, I mean, there's always drivers like that every year, pretty much. I mean, Sergio Perez almost could have been one of those drivers where he wasn't going to be on the grids. Sometimes that's the harsh reality of the sport that I enjoy.
Yeah, and good old Checo, that remarkable comeback in Sakir, last to first, and just the fact, even in that career mode, like he almost gave up for Racing Point. Like, hey, it's like the team managers on the radio, just like, hey, you know what, Checo, there's still a chance, and then to go in to win it, like,
Yeah,
incredible scenes.
yeah.
Another question here from Danny Rick Bobby says, question, Arava, on his highs and lows of his YouTube career. You mentioned Veloce GP. I do want to talk about that, but talking about that content and you on YouTube, maybe you haven't hit the highest high yet, or the lowest low. I hope not. But for you so far, what have been those? Maybe if you could pick two for us.
Highs. I mean, certainly, I think it comes out of last year, all the racing we got to do in lockdown, which is kind of ironic and kind of in a way where I'm still very grateful for the year we had, because esports, especially racing esports, got a massive boom from, you know, the unfortunate circumstances. We all made the best of it essentially, and for us gamers to be able to race against drivers like Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc was insane. I think a personal highlight, yeah, one of the highs for last year for me personally, gaming wise, video wise, was when Vellante put on a versus series. So it was kind of a 1-to-1 situation, and I went 1-to-1 with Charles Leclerc. I got told by the Vellante guys, yeah, you're gonna go first round with a Ferrari race winner. Good luck, and yeah, absolutely, just really, you know, just really not coping with it well. The nerves, my heart. I've not had a heartbeat like that in so long, like ever since, I don't know, maybe like an important decision like my exams or something like that. You know, even virtually sat there alongside him in the F1 game. I got so tense that the hands got clammy, and yeah, just going against him and actually not doing too badly. I don't think. I think I finished like 3/10 behind him in the first 1-to-1 we did, and then the second one I didn't get quite a good start. But from that, making a video of that, and that video I think is well on the way to probably becoming one of my most viewed videos. I think it's like 600K right now. So it just keeps getting views, obviously, because it's such a crazy video. Like the title itself, I still don't actually fully comprehend that I've uploaded a video like that saying that I 1v1 Charles Leclerc. And the same thing with racing like Lando Norris or Nicholas Latifi or these other F1 drivers. Definitely a massive highlight for me. Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest high. I can't really think of a second high maybe. In terms of lows, thankfully, there's not been really any lows for me that matter much on YouTube. I think maybe the hardest point of YouTube was maybe when I was starting out and I was still in university and it was kind of hard to juggle everything. So ever since then, the kind of stress has been a little bit less since it's turned into my full-time job. So yeah, thankfully there's not been any massive lows. Hopefully there won't be in the near future.
Yeah, I was just so we're very clear. I wasn't tempting it or saying there's one coming.
Yeah.
Look out.
Yeah, very ominous.
Yeah, I wasn't suggesting that in any way, shape, or form. But it is that. I mean, just to imagine that you are playing against the people or driving against those in the real F1, just to actually beat them on that's it. I'm retiring. No more. Controllers down. That's
yeah,
done.
that would have been that would have been it. I mean, I didn't beat Charles, but after our 1v1 ended, he kind of he did that usual thing. I feel like any F1 driver would do in that kind of situation. Just gave me a little pity sort of compliment, sort of like, you weren't that bad, mate. And I was like, you know what? I can die happy. I can take that to my grave. That a Ferrari race winner has said I'm not that bad. I'll take that.
Yeah. You may have thought that was going to be condescending. I took it to the letter. So thank you very much.
Exactly. Yeah.
I imagine this fake ghost pirate says he said Sergio Perez drink. Thank you very much for that comment coming through. I want to talk about that world domination, 400K in terms of subscribers. Does it add more pressure? You mentioned there at university the pressure of trying to juggle everything and balance your content that you're putting out and doing your studies. Now it's your full-time job. Is there a different pressure with the number, or do you not look at that?
I don't think there's a different pressure with the number per se. I think there's a different pressure in terms of just because I'm so grateful that I've actually been able to turn it into a full-time job. I didn't think it was going to exactly be this way whilst I was doing it in university. So when I left, I actually graduated and gave myself a year. Effectively, I told myself and told my parents that I'd give myself a year just to see how it goes. And it's kind of just carried on from there. That year is still going basically for like 3 years later. So there's a pressure in terms of I just want to deliver and as much good content as I can and try and do that every day, because I'm just so thankful that it is my full-time job. With the numbers, I don't know. I think it's kind of an issue if you do look at the numbers too much. So I try not to kind of get too into the subscriber count or the view count too much. Obviously, it's a nice yardstick of how well you're doing, but I think if you get wrapped up into that, that can really affect your mood really every day if you look at them and you don't like the look of it maybe. So I think it's more of a pressure just with myself and also seeing the actual real people commenting and enjoying the videos, and they just want to see more of it every single week.
Okay, so gear change. Riley Gale says, what motorsport do you follow other than F1? Good question, because you are synonymous with F1. Is there something else that tickles the pickle? And that is not a phrase I was expecting to say in this chat.
To be honest, no, F1 is my main sport. It's my main motorsport. It's the one I follow the most. As a secondary sport, I actually like football more than any other motorsport. In terms of other series I have tuned into, obviously F2 is massively exciting. The same cars, very exciting young drivers. So that's always a lot of fun on the same race weekends they come to with F1. I have tried my hardest to get into Formula E, because it always seems like the people who do enjoy that series really do rate it a lot. But I've just never really gelled with it that much. The style of racing you get is very, very different to Formula One. It's all on kind of street circuits, very tight, a lot of kind of bumping. Essentially, there's a lot of contact in Formula E, and it just, I don't know, for me, just doesn't really give me that same buzz as Formula One does. But so it really is kind of mostly just F1. If I don't want to watch F1, I'll just kind of fall back onto watching football.
Yeah. Although watching some of your breakdowns of the memes that are coming through, you seem to really enjoy NASCAR mechanics working on the rear of the car and how they're bashing it back into place. Could maybe NASCAR be something that you take more attention on?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I've watched a few like IndyCar races here, so I've always wanted to maybe go and watch other American motorsports. So NASCAR as well. I mean, I've never actually watched a full NASCAR race, so maybe that's something I need to do because I actually enjoyed the game quite a lot. It was actually a lot of fun to drive NASCARs, not only against the AI, but also like online. I hopped into a lobby with, I'm assuming Americans, it probably was mostly, and the lobby chaos was insane, just as insane as F1 open lobbies are. So yeah, maybe I need to try my hand at watching NASCAR and IndyCar, and might find some enjoyment in that. But definitely IndyCar, I've watched a few races before, and they can be a lot of fun. It's just, I guess, that scheduling, that kind of time difference of getting used to when the races are, and the kind of clashes sometimes that happen with F1. But yeah, it might be worthwhile. But yeah, I did enjoy that meme. That was great. Watching, just seeing how simple it is, how simple that car is compared to F1. Like, you could never imagine an F1 mechanic, if like, Lewis Hamilton comes in with a broken wing, just like, yeah, you know what, I think we can get the hammer out, Jeremy Clarkson this, and just bang it back into play. You just never imagine it. So it was just hilarious to me.
Yeah, it was the fact that one mechanic had two instruments that bash in the car. Well, not even
Yeah.
just one intricate. Um, my favorite comment from just getting up to speed again by watching some of your videos. Brain dead AI is my favorite phrase. I'm just going to put it out there. Brain dead
Yeah.
AI, love it.
Well, it's just true. It's just true sometimes.
And that's what I love, the authenticity that you add. So let's talk about Veloce. How did that come about, and you working with them, and what is your role with Veloce?
Well, that was some time ago now. I think 2018, in the summer of 2018, I got contacted by Jamie McLaurin at Vellante, and he'd seen what I was doing. At that point, they had already signed my fellow content creator, Ben, Tim at Marduk, earlier on in the summer, essentially. So he'd seen what I was doing, and he saw an opportunity to kind of collaborate and work together in a way where they could maybe offer me opportunities to travel to events with their Formula One, especially with esports starting to obviously come. Esports at that point was only in its second full year in 2018, but it was starting to gain some momentum. So I think Veloce saw a good partnership there in terms of what they could give me, and then vice versa. At the time, Veloce was only just starting out, so the exposure that I could give them was quite large, maybe compared to now, whereas they're a kind of own entity in itself. And then from there, it's kind of just grown into just a content creator role. Obviously, if you've watched the Veloce channel over the last year, we did Backseat Driver, which was a big series on the channel where it was essentially just F1 Gogglebox, reacting to the actual real life F1, and I've really enjoyed doing that with my flatmate and fellow content creator Niren FNG. And just being involved in Veloce content, be it racing series they're doing, podcasts actually that I've gone on a recent podcast they're doing now with Tomo and Aldas. So just kind of getting my kind of feet kind of in it all really with content creation. And like I said, with the Quadrant stuff, it's the same sort of thing. It allows me to do different kind of content that maybe I can't do on my channel necessarily, but I still enjoy doing as an F1 fan and as a content creator. But maybe it just won't really work for my very specific gaming audience, but it could work for the Veloce channel. So really enjoy getting involved in that as much as I do with Quadrant, obviously.
Yeah, it sounds so exciting. I don't want to come across facetious when I ask this question, but do you say no to any offers of work? And because it sounds so exciting, there's a podcast happening. Aarav, we want you. We want you part of Quadrant. Do you just say yes because you're kind of excited by this is going to be great fun? It could be potential content for my channel.
Yeah, I think there's not many times I say no when it comes to anything Veloce maybe table to me, because I think we've got now, having worked for 3 years with each other, I think we have a nice understanding of they get what I enjoy doing, and I know what they're going to bring to the table, and I know even if it's sometimes a left field sort of thing, which Quadrant kind of was a bit of a left field idea that Jamie came to me with. But I kind of have that trust in him as like a manager and a person that I trust in Veloce, that he also knows what could be really a cool opportunity for me. So I think it works both ways in that kind of sense. So I don't say no to a lot of things with them and opportunities when it comes, especially if it involves the F1 paddock, involves the F1 world that I love so much, basically. But at the same time, I guess in the last year or so, I've also tried to make sure I don't say yes to everything, try and spread myself too thin or do too much. I think, especially in lockdowns, I think it's kind of difficult sometimes to overwork yourself, especially when you don't get any respite of, being able to go out and, enjoy yourself or whatnot. So there's a fine balance that I'm trying to find personally that I've had to try and work on in myself. But there's not a lot with Veloce I won't say no to.
Oh, that's good to hear. It is so important, that mindfulness and like looking after yourself. Everyone is putting questions in on the Twitch chat. Thank you very much. I will get to them. I promise. Stick around. But it is difficult because you're constantly putting yourself out there. And I guess this isn't a question I've asked the Nitro Night Stories guest. Is how difficult is that? Are you more reflective as a person? Do you need time away? How do you do that? How do you manage yourself?
Yeah, it's really difficult actually. It's a really good question because I think it's something that we've all had to come to terms with, especially as content creators that maybe upload at least weekly in lockdowns. And I definitely could discover that I really relied on those weekends out. It kind of sounds very kind of funny, like typical sort of British kind of going out to the pub or going out with mates on a night out. But I actually realized over the last year how much I relied on that as an escape from the real world to switch off completely on, for those few hours on a Saturday or a Friday night. And so now it's a case of trying to, micromanage my day in a way that I don't get kind of, a bit stir crazy or don't get too involved in my work 24/7. So things like, just going for that one legal daily walk,
Yeah.
making sure, still working out and stuff like that kind of fell off a little bit in lockdown too, personally. And I've kind of got back onto it, that usual like New Year resolution thing, but I'm actually going to be sticking to it because I did kind of get into a groove of working out again just before lockdown too. And then that came along and kind of gave me a bit of a wobble. And I think everyone has those. Everyone has wobbles. It's just important to reset, kind of see what's happening, understand what's happening, kind of, do something about it constructively and positively to, make sure that kind of the head just keeps in check for everyone, no matter who you are. I think everyone's going to get affected by that, no doubt, especially with these lockdowns.
Yeah, amen to that. And it's so difficult being honest with yourself, especially in the lockdown. Like uh, from doing the F1 Esports Pro Series, you know that guys are qualifying. They are putting hours
Yeah, yeah.
into being the best they possibly can, and like they are seeking perfection. We're talking Lewis Hamilton when he wins his seventh champion. He's the champion 7 times. And he says, we're striving perfection. Thank you very much. But sometimes you just like that's elite level. It's hard to be honest with yourself and go, do you know what? I'm going to hit a burnout if I don't take
Yeah.
care of myself. And you even mentioned it a lot with your weight loss that you were talking about, and so openly. And it must be difficult because now you've said that you've got this expectation on you the whole time because you've put it out there. I've made content. People will be like, "What's going on, Aarav?" Like, or, was that something that's that health kick that's happening right now for you?
Yeah, I mean, I lost a whole lot of weight like a few years ago. I think towards the end of uni, it was like, what was it, 2016 to 2017? I used to be like 115 kg, like massive. And I lost all that weight in the final year of uni. And since then, kind of maintained that. But I had to admit to my followers on Instagram over the last year in lockdown 1 and 2, I did, as I think a lot of people maybe did, put on some weight because you're not going out, you're not really doing much in terms of activity, and also it's a pandemic that kind of, no matter who you are, gets to you a little bit in terms of like a stressor. And I think I definitely like basically just went towards like comfort eating and stuff like that in lockdown. And yeah, it's that thing of like putting myself out there, but I feel comfortable to do that because I realize that I personally really found a lot of inspiration and got a lot of motivation from reading other people doing that when I first lost the weight a few years ago. And so this year, kind of coming to terms with that in lockdown too, and then putting that out on Instagram and kind of talking about it publicly on my Twitter as well. It was kind of more of a case of, it's not just for me, but it's also, I know there's going to be at least one person might find it useful, find it motivational. If that happens, then I'll be so happy that I can help out at least one person. So I think that's definitely why I'm so comfy to kind of talk about it in a kind of public domain, basically, because I've been on the other side of it essentially. So now it's really cool to be able to, still be doing my own journey, but also now giving back to anyone who might be on a similar journey as well.
Yeah, and you bring and provide lots of joy with the videos that you make and the work you're doing. So it almost seems fair that you're getting some joy elsewhere on your YouTube, as well as the work and feeling that pride when you complete something that you've set a goal. what sort of stuff do you watch to bring that joy to you? That's just a quick question for you, Aarav.
I watch a lot of different YouTube. I'm a very YouTuber. I like watching a lot of YouTube content and streams as well. I think one YouTuber that I've watched and a streamer that I've watched since that, like the beginning, like 2010, is Jericho on Twitch. Love watching him. So streams every week. And then obviously, how can you not, being from the UK, the Sidemen is such a massive brand, such a massive group, and they just absolutely set the bar for everyone. And I've actually, I actually very thankful to kind of, have met a few of them. They followed me back on Twitter with the F1 game. So it's kind of cool watching how they're doing things. And you do take some inspiration of their work ethic and how big they're doing things. And then, just general YouTube content. I mean, I'm subscribed to so many people that I've just got a sub box filled. But obviously, as a content creator, I'm so busy during the day. So it very much is kind of almost a really great way to unwind. Is every kind of evening I get to like 10 p.m. and I have like a whole sub box full of videos that I can try and go through and pick through and try and enjoy myself basically. Because I mean, as I said, I am definitely a YouTuber's YouTuber. I like watching YouTube content as much as I like making it basically.
Yeah, Mini _ Gooms says, love your vids, keep it up. That's a great comment. Sonic 1S Simon says, or just one Simon, I can read, honest. He says a question, and GSR _ Deluxe asked this question. Aarav, do you think Fernando Alonso returning will prove to be a success or a failure? That's a nice kind of like fun loaded question, but just to get us back on track, just fun vibes.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I think a lot of people I've seen on Twitter and on the YouTube space have actually maybe said that they're not as confident about Alonso returning, but I just think he's going to prove those guys wrong. I think he's going to do that classic Fernando thing where he just shows up and he does really well. I think he was so quick in the postseason test, the young drivers test that he was allowed to go for. Yeah, a really young up-and-coming driver he is. But, in that test, he was really, really quick. So I think he's going to be a success. I think he's going to be able to come in and smash it. I think he's going up against Ocon, who maybe didn't have such an amazing season against Ricciardo. So I think he's going to basically come in and own that team. So, I think he will do really, really well.
Yeah, it would be ridiculous if I was to say there's no F1 questions on the chat right now. I'm going there to talk about it. Sonic 1 Simon says, question for Aarav is how do you feel that Yuki Tsunoda will be driving the number 22 in F1 in 2021? A bit of a tongue twister that. Is that confirmed, the number 2022? He says later on in the chat that check out the numbers, it will be confirmed. But how do you think he's going to fare? He's obviously got the ladder of a little step ladder to get over the halo. We know that. But how do you think he'll fare? What about that number 22?
I'll address the 22 first of all, because obviously that was Jenson Button's F1 number when they brought in official numbers, and that's he's still my all-time favorite F1 driver, past and present. Really, I don't really watch the sport in the same way ever since he retired. So I was, it was interesting, kind of seeing that news of he was taking 22. I was like, you know what? I don't know how quite I feel about that, but you know what? If anyone's going to take it, I guess I'd accept Yuki because he is a very exciting young driver, and if you look at his track record getting through junior categories, it's really impressive, really, really impressive. And actually, my flatmate, near an F&G, he's a massive, massive Yuki Tsunoda fan. Like, he's going to be jumping for joy, I'm pretty sure, anytime he does anything on the track when we watch it for Backseat Driver. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he progresses. And I think there was a lot of F2 races last year where he really impressed, just like how much raw speed he had. And I think AlphaTauri right now is a great environment to be with Gasly coming off such a mega year in 2020. I think it's great to be learning underneath Gasly, and the AlphaTauri car seems to be just slowly getting better and better every year, thankfully. So I think it's going to be an exciting time for the youngster, and hopefully he does quite well.
Yeah, I love Pierre. He's such a top guy, especially with the F1 esports when he was at Red Bull and everyone was excited about him. And if anyone you can learn from, okay, this guy's had setbacks but has overcome them. I think he's perfect.
Totally.
TD Umbel 04 says, what race do you love on the F1 game but hate in real life? Uh-oh.
Oh, that's a very tricky one. Oh, actually, you know what? Actually, that might be an easier one than I thought. I think Sao Paulo. Wait, which way was it? It was I hate in real life and love on the game, or the other way around? Because I hate it on the game, but I love it in real life.
This is I'm saying it's T Dumbbell 04. Of course, dumbbells. That's what lockdown is. I've already ordered mine. Imagine the exodus of people selling dumbbells when the lockdown's over. You'll be able to get them so cheap. He says, I assume, what race do you love on the F1 game but hate in real life?
Right, love on the F1 game, but that's quite tricky because there's a lot of vice versa. That I've got a lot of ones that I like in real life that I hate on the game, but ones that I like on the game but hate in real life.
It's
You know
tricky,
what?
that, isn't it?
Abu Dhabi actually, Abu Dhabi on the F1 game is actually really. It's not too bad. It's actually quite fun with the AI, especially on career mode, with the way they work and the tire wear works in the game, and the way the slipstream works, which is a little bit unrealistic in the game. It actually works out to be quite a fun Grand Prix with plenty of overtakes, some great passes, some great lunges. Whereas in real life,
That
unfortunately,
doesn't
we
happen.
never really see it. Yeah, never.
They're gonna have to I was talking to Alex Jakes about that. He's like, he's got a plan for how we can change
Oh
that.
yeah.
And I was like, just email him. Just get it sorted, Alex Jakes. Get it sorted. Because you do need those exciting moments for overtaking. Also, announced today. I'll ask you this question as well. GSR_deluxe. Do you think Latifi is a driver to push Williams forward, or a driver that Williams will replace in the coming years?
I think it's a tough one because I don't want to be too harsh on him because he's still early days in his F1 career. So it kind of sees how he develops in this. Is it his second year in F1 or third year? I think second year. He's still early on in his career, so I think give him some time. But I don't know whether I see him leading the team and being someone that Williams is going to stick with. I'm not too sure. I think Williams are a team where if they were to get back to maybe even just the midfield far, I think they really would look at all their options, and whether Latifi is one of the options that's right up there. I just don't know based off his performances to George Russell. But at the same time, George Russell, we know how good he is. We saw how good he was in a Mercedes car at Sakir. So maybe that's quite a harsh comparison in also what is a very difficult car to drive with the Williams car, being at the back of the grid. But yeah, I don't know. I think he's going to have to, really step it up if he wants to be a long-term asset to Williams, I think.
Yeah, and I can't find the name right now, so I can't give you a shout out. But asking about George Russell, where do you think he can win some points for Williams? And based off you and Niren and your video and your predictions, I don't suggest there's going to be any points there. Well, they have started buying Mercedes gearboxes and stuff, so there could be a chance. Where do you see George Russell getting some points?
There could be a chance. I think Niren in that video drunkenly said, there might be a madness at Portimao, the Portuguese Grand Prix. I don't think it's been confirmed yet. There's a slot in the calendar for the third round that's to be confirmed, but a lot of rumors are saying that's going to end up being Portimao. If it is, I think it was such a crazy race last year, not just because of the wet start that we had. I think genuinely it was such a great circuit that was so undulating, such a roller coaster, literally for the drivers. I think it kind of kept people on their toes. I think a driver like Russell could kind of wrestle that Williams car into some points at Portimao. But it's also that's very early on in the season, so maybe we might need to look at races that are later on in the season. Like you said, they're now have a partnership with Mercedes where they're going to get the gearboxes and whatnot. So maybe later in the season, being able to maybe focus a little bit more on their car in other areas that they don't have to, work on now that they've got that Mercedes rear end. Maybe they might improve to the point where Russell can actually legitimately get a point or two later on in the back end portion of the season. But I guess we'll see. But here's hoping. I think everyone would love to see him score some points in that Williams car, not just for him, but also the team in general as well, because it was really harsh, I think, that they didn't score any last season, where there were so many chances where a little bit more luck could have maybe come their way and they would have got that 1 or 2 points and probably could have beaten Haas, that only, I think, ended on a 3-point or 4-point tally last season. So they got very unlucky, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, George Russell, I'm absolutely gutted. I think it cut everyone deep there. If you love your F1 when he just missed out. And with all the setbacks that happened, that question came from _it's Jessam 24. One other quick question. We've mentioned him a few times. Niren, what's it like living with him? That comes from Scott Phillips.
It's just vibes. It's a really good vibe. Me and him are really, really close. We're just kind of almost the same sort of person when it comes to personality, and just off camera, just living with one another is just really easy. And I think, as people saw on the drunk video we did at the same time, we're just so we just bounce off each other so well. We just kind of make each other laugh no matter what, drunk or sober or whatever. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. Obviously, living with a content creator as well. It's a very big dynamic that I think's a real positive. At least personally for me, I think before I lived with Niran, I lived with my parents, so I can't really speak for living with other friends that don't do content creation per se. But I know living with a content creator it's such a good thing to be able to, talk about those things like we mentioned earlier, talking about those pressures of being a content creator maybe, or those things that go on in your mind as a content creator in lockdown. It's really good to have a fellow creator that's going through the exact same thing. And I think definitely last year, I think he would say the same thing. Me and him definitely helped each other out, kind of get through the year effectively and just kind of keep a little bit sane in terms of, we're locked in. We're going to keep on making content for people who really enjoy it and they'll pick up their day. But, everyone has those off days. And so in days like that, it's really, an advantage to have someone who does the exact same thing as you, albeit a different genre video wise, but it's still content creation at the end of the day.
Yeah. Vibes. I like that. That's a great quote. What's it? I think like when you move on and you live with different people in your life, you should have one quote from them. Niran's will be, it was vibes living with him.
Yeah.
Hand it to the estate agent. I think you'll find here it's vibes. There's a great comment that says from Tobin 15. It says I've learned so much from you. So kudos to you, Aarava. A couple more questions before we let you go. What does 2021 have in store for you? What do you want to do with the content you make? Have you got any big plans after lockdown? What's on the horizon for you?
Yeah, I think a lot of the big exciting plans after lockdown come a lot from Quadrant. I think we as a team have a lot of ambition for what we want to do, video ideas wise, and just also event wise in real life with Lando. Obviously, it's very tricky with COVID being a thing. Lando is in that COVID bubble for most of the year with F1, so it's difficult to do a lot of things. But when hopefully later in the year things start to open up and kind of the world's a little bit more normal, be able to do a lot more real life content with Lando, but also the other three basically, and as a team being able to do videos in person in front of live action cameras and going to locations, going to Grand Prix and doing things like that, and doing video ideas that you just can't do in lockdown. And I think for me, personally for my channel, I think I just every year look to grow even more, think of new ways to entertain people, new ways to stretch the F1 game. I think F1, as a sport and as a game, it is, at the end of the day, you are just kind of driving around in a circle, racing, AI or other people online and stuff like that. So it is kind of tricky maybe compared to other games of really thinking outside the box of what you can do content-wise. So I think always trying to push myself to think about what more can we do? And I think a lot of that entails for me usually is breaking the F1 game with a lot of mods and experiments and stuff like that. But just thinking of new ideas. And obviously the new game will come out, F1 2021, which will be exciting because after that, I think EA are set to take over Codemasters or buy them out. That's going to be a very interesting time, I think. I think all us creators are not too sure how to react to that. It's exciting because EA obviously have so much resource to put behind games, so it's going to be massively exciting to see what they can do, what Codemasters can do as a studio with more resources maybe. But let's be real, at the same time, in the last few years, EA has not exactly maybe managed FIFA amazingly, especially in the career mode department, which is obviously my bread and butter. So it's going to be an interesting time, I think, later in the year.
Yeah, the announcement. Guys, I'm going to have to go in a different direction. No more career modes from Aarava. Tom Ben asks, which football club do you like the most?
I support Man United, and so that's because my family liking United, and they just brought.
Thank you very much, guys. Thanks for joining for the Nitro Nights Stories. Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure to have Aarava. I interrupted.
Yeah, no. To be fair, I get that reaction a lot. To be fair, but no, I mean, my family all support Man United, so I pretty much had no choice in the matter. I just grew up as a United fan, even though I'm in London. But it's that classic, I'll take it. It's that classic United fan thing that we're a lot of us in London we support United, but I had no say in the matter. I just grew up with my family pushing it on to me, putting me in a red jersey, so I'll just stick with it.
No, it's absolutely fine. It's the classic reaction that everyone gives. J-Dog, thank you very much for your comment. Remembers the days of Eurofan, me traveling around. And I did actually have to support Man United against in a Champions League game at Old Trafford, the the Theatre of Dreams, Real Sociedad. That was when Chicharito was playing for them up front, the Mexican little, what do they call it? It's like a Michael Owen. He was magnificent. He could tap in goals left, right, and centre. But
Yeah, he was a
not
little,
necessarily that much for
whizzed
United.
around. Yeah, definitely.
Listen, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you. The final question is, how are you and Ben Daly? I don't know is there beef between you? I think we end on a high for this question.
Into the high. No, I don't know what's up with me and Ben Daly. Not that I know of. I think maybe people want to create some beef there with that question, but yeah, no, everything's fine. I mean, Ben's killing it with McLaren Shadow. Obviously, he's an esports ambassador, so he's very busy with Vellante as well. It's exciting times for him and me as Vellante creators affiliated with them. As they grow and as we both grow as the two kind of biggest F1 gaming specific content creators. It's really exciting to share the space with him, basically, and we have done for so many years, ever since 2012, basically. So it's been a pretty wild ride to be on with him.
Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing him becoming the manager at McLaren and watching F1 esports, the Pro Series for 2020, and Jarno Opmeer winning. That must have been quite nice because you were obviously Alfa Romeo team principal. Just a final thought. I know we're wrapping up, and it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on board, and I hope you guys watching enjoyed it. Don't forget to take for more content around what you love, sim racing. But final thoughts on F1 esports, Brendan Lee's move to FDA Hublot. How big can it get, and are you still being involved in it?
Yeah, well, I'm involved to the point where obviously, like you said, I was close with Alfa Romeo Racing. I was part of the team, and so I'm still very close to them. I'm still in the actual chats behind the scenes with the team, but I just never say anything. I'm just kind of, lurking around and, seeing what's what, and I was so happy to see Jarno do well. In terms of the series, I mean, it's growing every year. I think it's just a case of, I think they definitely have to look into the actual racing itself. I think at times it could be a little bit better with how maybe the game works for the esports, and I've always thought that maybe they need to start venturing out a little bit and doing their own thing as an esports build, maybe specifically for those drivers to maybe encourage more racing. Kind of ironically, like in the real life sport, they need to encourage more racing, I think, in the series. But as a industry for F1, it's just booming, and it's great to see that it's growing every single year. And like you said, exciting times with Brendan Lee moving to Ferrari. I'm sure there'll be maybe some more exciting driver announcements for this next year. And hopefully, well, we don't know yet, but hopefully there's going to be news about the series expanding and doing even more, maybe more races, or just doing something a little bit more different to last year, maybe just to spice it up, basically. But it's been massively exciting to kind of watch from the outside now, having been on the inside, and it's maybe really appreciate it a little bit more in terms of for Jarno. So happy for him, such a deserving champion, so quick and consistent for Alfa Romeo to be a very, very good fight for Red Bull. The Red Bull team were very, very strong. So very exciting times, and I'm sure later on this year is going to be really exciting for 2021.
Yeah, I'm excited for Brendan Lee. I believe he's just downloaded Babbel, so he can start learning Italian. Listen, Aarav,
Nice.
It's been an absolute pleasure. How can people follow if they're not already following your stuff?
Well, I'm Aarava on YouTube, and then _Aarava on Twitter and Instagram. And of course, as we mentioned, I'm also part of Vellante Esports and Quadrant, which is Lando Norris's esports team. So you can check out Quadrant at the Quadrant YouTube channel. We upload every single week. And that's pretty much everything I'm on.
Oh man, that we should have started. My busy introduction was too much, maybe. But listen, Aarav, as my internet starts to slow down, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you. Thank you very much, and to everybody watching. Don't forget to stay up to date with everything on overtake.gg, and hopefully we'll see you next time for Nitro Nights Stories. We're out of here. Take care. Goodbye.